Now, most of you probably don't know this, but I'm actually one of the rare people who is nicer on the internet than I am in person. Generally, I don't portray this on my videos because, well, that's not going to accomplish anything, right? And I've kind of learned that the community generally does not want negative videos. But at the same time, my channel is about improving the game. And to improve the game, you need to be honest about it. You need to be honest about the company. You need to be honest about Massive, about Ubisoft, about The Division 2. So I just want to get it out of the way that I am not being negative towards the developers just to be negative towards them. I'm not trying to do it to get views. I'm not trying to do it to, be part of the mainstream. But as you've no doubt seen, there's plenty of feedback on the new upcoming changes for TU11, including this new transmog system that they're going to be implementing, which is basically them putting new skins on, the old gear that you have. So you can basically just pick a skin from a backpack that you like and put it on, an ugly backpack that you don't like. I mean, that's not a terrible idea. There's nothing generally wrong with that. The problem comes in with the timing of this. I mean, just, there's so much to focus on with this game. They're constantly adding new glitches, new problems, and new just BS. It would just be really good if they actually focused on the things that need to be addressed instead of going off onto wild, weird tangents that have no bearing on the current circumstances of the game. I mean, honestly, I don't know about you, but I don't personally know any Division 2 cosplayers. I don't know anyone who is craving backpack skins. Yeah, some people said, okay, this backpack is ugly, but who cares? That's not the point of the game. I mean, for the most part, it's not the point of the game. For most players, this has nothing to do with anything. And yes, it is a nice thing to have, but wouldn't you rather have a working game instead of a new skin for your backpack? I mean, honestly, wouldn't you rather have the ability to actually add things to your recalibration library instead of just sitting in the menu with your weapon just not doing anything? Wouldn't you rather have the ability to actually play the game instead of getting a weird error that basically locks you out of Warlords of New York content? Or how about the new and improved heroic loot? At first, yeah, it did seem like it was good. Now, I'm not so sure. The loot that I'm getting from anything is pretty terrible, and very rarely am I getting actually something that is usable. And they're going to be addressing rainbow loot here, but how well is that going to work? Is that going to be a total disaster? I mean, on heroic, I should not be getting 2.7 weapon damage. And I may just be confused on this, but how many times have they talked about fixing the spawning issues of NPCs? Why are we still having issues where they spawn into random stuff that you can't really fight them in? They basically, end up in the spawn closet, or in this case, they're ending up inside of obstacles. I mean, this isn't even scratching the surface on all of the glitches, all of the problems that this game is constantly having, all of the issues that they're constantly reintroducing into the game. And from my perspective, this was one of the biggest reasons why they had to go and basically recreate a new game to get away from the issues that they were basically dealing with in Division 1. But it's really becoming more and more obvious that they didn't really do it to fix the issues, and all they really did to fix the issues was basically just remove certain things from the game. This is why you no longer see things like the mobile cover, because mobile cover caused problems, and they just felt like apparently if they removed it, then there wouldn't be a problem, which is true. But then why couldn't you fix any of the other problems that you were still having, that we still see recurring, like, running down stairs and tripping, constantly running into invisible walls no matter where you are. And yet here we are being told that one of the most highly requested things from Division 1 is finally being implemented in Division 2, being able to put more attractive backpack skins on ugly backpacks. That's what we're being told? That's the pressing issue? I mean, you can say like, well, it's a minor issue, they're just adding something nice to the game. But here's the thing. How many people were working on that while they could have been working on actual improvements to the game? I mean, in an era where they're dealing with so many issues in the gaming community, especially, like loot boxes and basically, being considered gambling, okay? They're figuring out a new way to add more cosmetics to the game. Honestly, think about this. And you may watch 21 Kiloton, but, him and his pedo caches, that's one of his big sticking points, the pedo caches. Yes, they are huge in the gaming community now, and they're only getting bigger because they can just make infinite amounts of money on stupid objects. And I mean, I don't know what goes with pedo caches better than sexual harassment investigations of Ubisoft. I mean, Those two just seem to go hand in hand. And yet here we are looking at a way to add more cosmetic items into the Division. And honestly, some of you may not mind having microtransactions in the video game. I know I don't necessarily have a problem with microtransactions. They don't necessarily bother me being there. I know I'm not going to buy them. I mean, unless I really like the game and really approve of the company, I have no interest in the microtransactions. But when you have so many issues with the game, when you have to constantly redo the gear and basically redo the stats and all this balancing because you can't get it right, and yet you think that the biggest priority should be adding new ways to introduce more transactions to the game. Because, look, maybe I'm very pessimistic about this, but it seems like a huge new opportunity for them to sell us new and different backpack skins. Not only can they now sell us, different colors on the backpacks, but soon they'll just be able to sell us different backpacks, different knee pads, different face masks. They'll just basically just monetize every single aspect of this freaking game so that you can look cooler. I mean, what kind of new weapon skins are we going to see? I mean, are we going to be able to completely change the weapon and do something just, glowing red and beastly looking? I mean, who knows what's going to happen? Who knows what they could do to try to, scam more money from their already dwindling player base instead of actually fixing the game and making it a better experience for the people that are actually playing it. Going over some of these things, thinking about what they're doing with this game is more disturbing than watching a Na Surprise commercial in slow motion. And honestly, at this point in the game, at this point in the franchise, I have less trust for Ubisoft and Massive than I would for a free candy van. I mean, for all intents and purposes, the free candy van might as well just be driven by Trick Dempsey and have, Ubisoft and Massive logos on it. That's how cringe and that's how untrustworthy I find this company, this game, this publisher, this developer. Everything about it is just cringe to me. And yes, I understand that companies need to make money, they need to make profit, they need to keep operating, and that's fine. But there's a huge misconception about how gaming companies operate and how all this stuff happens. Because, look, there is no way you can convince me that while companies are posting year-over-year revenue growth in the gaming sector, that they are somehow starving for money. How are they making all of this money, and yet we are getting poorer and poorer products from them? We are getting less finished games than we were before. And yet people seem to be completely intent on defending the practices of bad companies. Now look, I'm not saying that companies shouldn't make money and they should basically release everything for free. No, I understand that when you produce things, you need to basically make revenue from that. My issue is, why don't you actually make a working product, a good product, a product that is solid and basically doesn't deceive the customer, and actually see what happens then? I mean, look at companies that are actually making good games. Take CD Projekt Red, for example. I'm not really a fan of The Witcher, but I know plenty of people love The Witcher games. And I know plenty of people that are excited for Cyberpunk. And honestly, I'm actually kind of excited for Cyberpunk. And even though I don't really know if that is my type of game, just based on who the company is and what the company is doing, I want to support the game. I want to get it just to show my appreciation for a good gaming company that actually builds what the consumer wants, builds a working product, takes their time to actually push out a good product, and is not completely and utterly focused on predatory practices to make their money. Now look, I'm not calling for a boycott of Massive, I'm not calling for a no play day of Division 2, I'm not calling for any of that stuff. I mean, look, we've paid for the product. We should have the product that we paid for. We should have a working game. We should have a game that does not have constant issues all the time. My issue with the Division is just there is a complete and utter disregard for the potential of this franchise. Basically, they are playing a very short game with the only picture being the dime that they can make now, and they are completely forgetting about any monetary value of the franchise in the future. They're sacrificing everything for what they can get and what they can steal from the player base currently. But, that'll be it for me for this video. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you on the next one.